first.
Did you get a notice?
I did.
Okay, amazing. So I'm so happy to be here with Roni, and thanks, Roni, for taking the time today. So just a little bit of background for the conversation. So Roni, you were actually one of my earlier clients. We got together back in, I'm looking at my notes, 2021. It was.
It's been a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, a little while back. So really happy to have you share your experience here. I'm just going to kind of launch in so you can share, and then I might kind of jump in with a few more questions. So I'm going to start back at the beginning. And so what was it that brought you to, find me for a hypnotherapy RTT session?
Well, it's kind of funny, Lynn. I have a friend of mine, and I'm the type that I really like to ensure that I'm taking the stigmatism out of mental health. And so I've talked about mental health on my Facebook page quite a bit. And I had a friend reach out to me and he's like, "Have you ever tried RTT?" And I'm like, "Nope, have no clue what it is." So he kind of explained it to me, and he gave me your number because he was one of your clients as well. So that's what made me reach out to you specifically. And I was willing to try anything at that time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Would you feel comfortable sharing kind of some a little more detail on kind of what you were looking to address, what issues, and kind of how long they'd been around there for, and some of the impact it was having on your life, before we had that session?
Of course, yeah. So I struggled a lot with childhood trauma, went through a lot of different things as a child. Stuff that I'm not really going to list, but a lot of effects from the childhood trauma, whether it be addictions, mental health issues, relationship issues. There was several different things that I was struggling with, and I had been in counseling, traditional counseling, for years. I tried several different varieties of different like CBT and all different types of therapies and different therapists
Mm-hmm.
that I just didn't ever seem to get, although it was good to talk about it in some circumstances, I didn't feel like I ever really resolved any of it. I didn't ever really see a big significant change in behavior when I did the traditional talk therapies.
Yeah.
So I really, yeah, I just really continued the struggle. And, when you finally kind of just wake up and go one day, like, this isn't changing. I'm repeating behaviors that I don't like, that aren't really me,
Yeah.
not really aligned with what my personal values are. So yeah, I was struggling for pretty much my whole life, right into my 40s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do recall, I recall actually most sessions in vivid detail, and I was so happy when you reached out, and I do remember that process. So you kind of went through the list of one of my questions, kind of, and I'm not asking this to, don't want to put other therapies necessarily into a bad light, but a lot of what we talk about with, hypnotherapy and RTT is just how kind of fast it is, and how sometimes more traditional talk therapy doesn't work for people. So you kind of gave us an overview that you tried a few different, technically speaking, more traditional. And even since you and I had our session back in 2021, I think a lot's changing even in that field, in that industry and space, with people talking about um, you know, you know, the brain and neuroscience and how beliefs work and language. So I won't ask that question again. So can you kind of describe what the experience was like? So you had tried other therapies, you got to the point where you were like, okay, this is, the behaviors are still there. You had the referral from your friend. I remember that session as well. Can you describe what that experience was like when we had the session? And we did have our sessions online.
We did. Yeah. I was curious but scared. Like, as we've all heard, hypnotherapists make you quack like a duck. But again, I had so much want to heal the things that I saw, and really wanting to have successful relationships and successful work and that type of stuff. So I was just really willing to do it, and it was good. You're great to talk with. The discovery call was great. It was easy. You made it really easy to just talk about what was there. You had great questions. And then the session itself was pretty easy. And it was kind of shocking at first, like just how easy the session is. Like you just relax and just get to reconnect with your body, which a lot of us, I think, are so disconnected from our bodies, and in turn disconnected from our emotions and our feelings and what's deep down inside. So the whole session was really just good and relaxing, and I didn't feel uncomfortable. And you made me feel super comfortable and made sure I knew that I'm in control, which us control freaks need to know that we're in control.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you bring up that point, because I'm working more with people who have experienced childhood abuse as well as domestic violence. Often those two are connected. Having that and then going into if it's uninterrupted into adulthood, very much a connections often with people having adult abusive relationships. But some people feel a little bit afraid of, oh, what's gonna come up? Or maybe like, what am I gonna remember? Or I don't know if you remember from the session, but could you comment on kind of how it was to go through that part, to kind of go back and kind of make the connection as to, where was it that the emotions and the beliefs got laid down that were causing your issues in your life at that point, and also years before. Do you remember that part of the session?
I do. And it was very early on, like very, very early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is kind of shocking that you think that something that happened years and years and years ago has so much effect on your life today. Especially as someone who experiences that trauma, and then you grow up and you're like, don't want to blame your childhood for who you are, because you're like, oh, like you can't do that, like I'm an adult. And yeah, you can't blame, but you can take some responsibility. And it's pretty shocking to know and to make that realization that like it's directly correlated.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
directly correlated.
You recall having that clear moment where exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point too, because, a lot of people just kind of have it's a fine line, I think, between, like you said, like blaming current situation on past, and then that idea of, but looking at it and then taking responsibility as an adult. So it can be a fine line, because I'll kind of get into maybe what you see in the arena of therapy. We'll kind of get to that question, but there can be a little bit of, I call it the victim mentality, which I think RTT is the exact opposite in this kind of therapy. So it was interesting that you had that kind of thought. Pardon me. So what were the results and the changes that you experienced, whether it was how you were thinking or how you were feeling, or what you started to do differently in life? Can you share that?
I guess one of the biggest things was the realization that, yes, okay, my childhood has had effect on me, and some of the things that I'm doing now that I don't necessarily like or like are part of my values. So it's not, and I don't want to say it's not my fault because, it is my fault, but I'm the one doing them, but there was a reason behind it.
Yes.
So knowing that there was a reason behind it gave me the power to know that I am okay. I am not a bad person.
Mm.
I'm enough. And it's funny that the book is called, that Marissa writes, is called I Am Enough, because I couldn't even say those 3 words before RTT.
Wow.
So every time I said those 3 words, I'd end up in tears. I couldn't even choke those 3 words out. So yes, RTT had made me just like, that was the biggest change. And it's not like it happened like a light bulb. It was just one day I was sitting there and I was really diligent with my recording. I listened to it every night.
Mm.
I still listen to it every once in a while.
Nice.
Um, it just helps me, I think, and it's always good for your subconscious to hear that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was just kind of one day I was like, wait a minute, there's a change. Something's changed. What's changed?
Wow.
So it was fantastic that it was just, yeah, you don't even really know that it's happening, but it just slowly happens.
Yeah. So you had the creeper. I call it the creeper effect. Some people have a real immediate and some people it kind of goes and goes, and then all of a sudden they look back and go, I feel totally different. Like almost, I've heard people say like a different person. It's still you, but that kind of
Yeah.
experience. I totally love that. Um, so I absolutely love this, and I remembered getting an email from you. So can you share kind of what's changed for you, since then on your career path?
Yeah, well, it was totally funny. I've been in the same career for a long, long time, had no inclination whatsoever to do anything different. A bit, albeit a bit bored with my career and kind of in a weird spot. And after I'd done my RTT, and I was on Facebook one day, and there was an ad to become an RTT therapist. And I was like, that's a thing. And I just knew right away. I just knew it was like, I need to do this. I need to help people the way it helped me,
Mm-hmm.
because it had such an amazing effect and on me and my health and my mental health, that I was like, I needed to do it. So yeah, I became an RTT therapist as well.
Mm-hmm. When did you graduate again? It's been a little
I graduated a year and a half ago. So
amazing.
no, November of 22.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna ask you this question if you can answer it, because sometimes when you're in a totally different kind of frame, have a totally different perception of yourself, it can be difficult to go back and say, okay, how would the old Ronnie looked at that? Do you think the old Ronnie, and I mean the not the old, but the pre-RTT session Ronnie would have looked at that and pursued that as a career, or what do you think?
No, because the old Ronnie would have thought like, hypnotherapy, good Lord, come on. And have no faith in herself.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had no faith in myself, or that I could pursue something different, nor would I understand the impact that it would have, right? So I wouldn't, yeah, I probably just would have kept on scrolling.
Yeah. Well, I totally love that you did that. And yeah, it really warms my heart to see that and how well you're doing. Is there
Yeah.
anything I kind of missed that you'd want to share with people? So people who are curious about um this is a therapy, people who feel like, oh, it's too late. This is just my life. Like, this is just my lot. I had a crappy childhood and this is how I am. Is there anything you'd say to anyone about that?
Ah, it's never too late. It's
Mm,
never ever too late. You know, pre-RTT, I didn't have a bad life. You know, I didn't have, like I said, I struggled with a little bit of addictions and relationship wise. And I never knew that there could be this level of joy and love and happiness. And
mm-hmm.
it's out there. And I probably thought, and I shouldn't say probably, I thought that, oh, I think it's out there. I think it's achievable, but not for somebody like me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because of my childhood. This is going to be status quo. And it just doesn't need to be status quo. You can find it, again, it doesn't happen overnight, or it didn't for me, anyways, but you can find that level of joy. And it's such an amazing feeling. And I say this to my husband all the time, to feel the level of joy and like feel it, not just think, oh, I'm happy.
Not
No,
just
I
say the
feel,
words.
yeah, yeah, totally. Don't just like, you don't, like, you actually feel happy. You feel joy. You can feel these things. They are possible. So just don't ever think just
It's,
don't ever think it's not worth it, because it's 100% worth it.
I love that you said that. I actually just had a client last week, and one of the things they most wanted was to just feel like I'm deserving of having a happy, secure family, because there was a lot of childhood abuse and violence there. And
Yeah,
you could see, as they and were saying it, just that yearning and the wanting. And so I love that you've
yeah,
just shared that, yeah, it's never too late. And the feeling is so amazing. Like,
yeah,
you look back and go, oh my God, I was miserable or not miserable, but like, or does it matter? I'm curious.
yeah.
Does it, like, do you
It's
look,
just it just kind of feels like this is it.
yeah,
This is as happy as I'm ever going to be. I'm not really truly totally happy,
yeah,
but I'm not unhappy. I'm not a severe addict. I go to work every day, like it's okay. It's
yeah.
just okay. to to I'm happy and fulfilled, and doing things that I love to do, and feeling and finding the joy and experiencing the joy in those things, and the joy and love. Like,
Yeah.
whoever thought that would be there? Yeah.
And congratulations on that, because you weren't married at the time we had our session.
No, no.
Okay. So that was was that a new app post session relation?
No, we were dating.
Okay. Yes. You did get me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. In our yes, yes, yeah,
Congratulations.
we did. And thank you. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful just to open up and allow the love, because again, when you go through childhood traumas, especially for what I went through, I was blocked off.
Mm-hmm.
Big, big, big walls. Big walls. Nobody, it was really hard for anybody besides my children to penetrate those walls. So it's nice to be able to just open up the doors and allow that. Like I said, love.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Ronnie. And I'm going to stop recording now. Thank
Okay.
you. Unless you have anything else you want to add, you've just been so gracious with sharing. So I'll stop recording.